In just a few short days, on July 15, 2025, the state of Florida will carry out its 8th execution this year. The life of 54-year-old Michael Bernard Bell will end for a crime he committed over 3 decades ago. But the chilling truth behind his path to death row is a tale of mistaken identity, brutal revenge, and a devastating domino effect that left 5 innocent lives shattered. The year was 1993. Michael Bell, then just 23, was consumed by a desire for revenge. His brother, Lamar Bell, had been killed earlier that year by a man named Theodore Wright. A self-defense ruling spared Wright from charges, but Michael Bell vowed a different kind of justice. On the night of December 9th, outside a bar in Jacksonville, Florida, Bell saw it the distinctive yellow Plymouth that Theodore Wright used to drive. What he didn't know was that Wright had sold that car, and the man getting into it wasn't Theodore Wright. It was Jimmy West with his friend Tamecka Smith, just 18 years old. Bell, armed with an AK-47 rifle, approached the car, and without a second thought, he unleashed a hail of bullets into the unsuspecting vehicle. And Jimmy West and Tamecka Smith were brutally cut down. But the horror didn't stop there. Another friend in the car miraculously ducked, escaping the gunfire. But as onlookers outside the bar screamed in terror, Bell turned his weapon on them, spraying bullets indiscriminately before fleeing. He went to his aunt's house, proclaiming, "Theodore got my brother, and now I got his brother." He was devastatingly wrong, but the depths of Michael Bell's violence went far beyond that tragic night. On the fateful night of December 9th, Bell spotted it the distinctive yellow Plymouth Fury, the very car Theodore Wright used to drive. Bell knew the lounge had a weapon-searching guard. He knew his target, Jimmy West, would be unarmed upon exiting. While he waited, poised in the darkness, Bell, with a chilling ingenuity, fashioned a ski mask by burning eye holes in a knit cap. His 2 friends, present but powerless, desperately tried to talk him out of the impending murder. But Bell was unmoved by their pleas, his determination ironclad. At 10:45 p.m., the unsuspecting victims emerged. Jimmy West, 23, and Tamecka Smith, a mere 18 years old, stepped into the yellow Plymouth. Bell, recognizing West as Wright's half-brother, donned his mask, gripped the loaded AK-47, and advanced. What followed was a cold-blooded ambush. At point-blank range, he unleashed a barrage. 12 bullets ripped into West, 4 into Tamecka. The official report states the bullets tore their flesh and shattered the bones of the helpless victims. West died instantly. Tamecka tragically succumbed in the hospital a short while later. But Bell's rampage was far from over. After slaughtering West and Smith, his fury turned on the terrified onlookers. He fired at a man in front of the car, then at several others in the parking lot, who narrowly escaped by ducking behind vehicles. Then, in a terrifying display of unbridled aggression, he riddled the front of the lounge itself, forcing 10 to 12 people to desperately scramble for cover. Leaving a scene of pure carnage, Bell drove to his aunt's house, not with remorse, but with gleeful bragging, "Theodore got my brother, and now I got his brother." The full extent of Michael Bell's violent history, laid bare by the court, paints a chilling picture of a habitual criminal. He had amassed 7 misdemeanor and 6 felony convictions as an adult, plus 4 more as a juvenile. And in a critical detail, he received 3 early prison releases. The last one came just 7 months before these murders, despite him serving time for armed robbery with a firearm. As investigators dug deeper, the sheer scale of his brutality became clear. Bell was responsible for 3 other unsolved homicides. In 1989, he coldly murdered 19-year-old Lizanne Cohort and her innocent 2-year-old son, Travis. And just months before the Jacksonville bar shooting, in August 1993, he executed his mother's boyfriend, Michael Johnson, on his own front porch after an argument. 5 lives, including a toddler, extinguished by one man's relentless and calculated rage. The evidence against Bell for the West and Smith murders was, as the court noted, overwhelming. In March 1995, a jury unanimously 12-0 found him guilty of 2 counts of first-degree murder.
On the count of first-degree murder, we find the defendant guilty. On the second count of first-degree murder, we find the defendant guilty.
This unanimous recommendation for death was, according to the presiding judge, a rarity in his 25 years on the felony bench, reflecting the overwhelming evidence of guilt and aggravation, and the absence of significant mitigation. The court weighed 3 aggravating circumstances against only 1 marginal mitigating circumstance. These included Bell's prior capital offense and armed robbery convictions, and his deliberate act of creating a great risk of death to many. But the most damning finding, unequivocally stated by the court, was that these murders were committed in a cold, calculated, and premeditated manner without any pretense of moral or legal justification. This finding of heightened premeditation cemented his fate. On June 2, 1995, Michael Bernard Bell was formally sentenced to death, the sentences to run consecutively. His extensive appeals, painstakingly detailed across state and federal courts for decades, were consistently denied. Executive clemency, too, was determined to be not appropriate. Now, 31 years after a revenge plot born from deep-seated malice and executed with ruthless precision, Michael Bernard Bell faces the ultimate consequence. Countdown to his final moments has begun. Governor Ron DeSantis signed the death warrant, scheduling Michael Bernard Bell's execution for Tuesday, July 15, 2025 at 6 p.m. It is the state's ultimate declaration in a case marked by cold calculation and devastating loss. This case stands as a stark, chilling reminder of the finality of justice and the profound, lasting devastation of premeditated violence. What are your thoughts on this case? Share them respectfully in the comments below. And for more deep dives into the chilling realities of death row and upcoming executions, ensure you hit that subscribe button.
Unfiled.